Hello and welcome to Touch Talks. I genuinely don't know what I'm meant to be saying here, but no, we are the podcast which is going to go into the depth of touch rugby, talking to people, you are a person, players, coaches, fans all around the world, just to show that this is more than just a game. This is way beyond that. And today we are joined by Emma Oliver.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good, how are you?
I'm very good. I am just reading all the notes I made, and it's quite an impressive achievement because Emma started touch playing for the England under-15s, as I've got this right, played for the under-18s girls for 3 years. In that reign, you won the national championships in 2017 with the Midlands Tigers. Gutted because I was in the opposite team to you. You played for the Mixed Open at 2019 in Malaysia. You debuted for the Women's Open in 2021. You've won the European Championships twice, and you've just won a bronze medal at the recent World Cup in Nottingham. Jeez, that is a hell of a CV. So yeah, the dog will come in and out. Ignore him.
Sorry.
Literally head got a head first into your backpack. Wait, come here.
No.
And yeah, I mean, where to start? I mean, talk to us about like how you got into touch. That first bit, what it did for you at school.
So I first started when my brother Joe, so he's 2 years older than I am, and he used to play rugby union. And when I was younger, I struggled really badly with growing pains in my knees. I had something called Oscar Sclatter, which...
one more time.
Do you want me to spell it?
God, no.
No, I can't. So, yeah, I had Oscar Sclatter in my knees. I used to be a really keen footballer. I thought that was the way that I was going to go. It was the way that I definitely wanted to go at the time. But yeah, because of my knees and things like that, I had to take a step away. And I was on and off crutches as a 10-year-old kid for about a year maybe.
Tough.
And I think that also taught me how much I just loved like sport and being outside, especially like team sports. And so then when I was like introducing back into sport, I tried to go back to football, wasn't really into it. And then basically decided when I was about 13, 14, I think I was 13 actually, to go and join my brother at a summer touch like fitness session that his rugby union club were doing basically.
Nice.
And so that's how I ended up there.
Nice.
And the rest is history.
The rest of history. And you played, so as I understand from our conversations beforehand, that was pretty much the start, and then you wanted to do a little bit more, found a local touch club, because you played right through school, which now is obviously, that's not unusual, but back in the day I think it probably was a little bit more unusual. Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, so I started up at Lincoln, which is where I grew up, and then ended up going to, and that was, so I started in the summer, and then of 2015, and then January of 2016 I went to like an England under 15s or juniors like training session thing, and I remember it was in the snow.
Classic. Summer sport.
Yeah. So yeah, probably like is the earliest memory of like England touch for me with the juniors. And so yeah, and then ended up going to that, and then ended up moving to Nottingham club, I think in the winter of 2016, nice. Sometime around then. But yeah.
That is the home of touch at Nottingham.
Yeah, it was the best, like so much credit to Nottingham and like Chris Simon, like it was the best thing ever. Like there was just so much for the juniors. He is also so passionate about the sport and pushing juniors as well, and so it was definitely the best club I could have ended up at, basically.
Such a vibe, awesome. And I hope you don't mind me asking as well, because obviously we're talking about it before we started talking today. I said talking twice in the same sentence there. Note to self, don't do that again. But you like touch helped you quite a lot at school? Yeah,
so when I was at school I was basically awful student. Absolute nightmare. Yeah, absolute nightmare. Was just like super energetic and not like, I wouldn't focus on my work, wasn't passionate about my work, that sort of thing. And once I found touch, I like found something that I was like properly passionate about, and I think that then reflected into my schooling. And eventually I've actually now been diagnosed with ADHD and dyslexia, and I think because I got I was diagnosed in my first year of uni, because I went through school, primary, secondary school, A levels, without that, having touch was like such a nice way to kind of have an outlet, because I wasn't getting the support or the help for those other things.
Yeah, so you got something else to like real focus on.
Yeah.
That must be weird going to uni and being like, that's my diagnosis.
Yeah, it was really strange.
Yeah.
Like, I think I've done obviously a lot of work with it, but trying to like kind of let go almost that like resentment towards like the people that were like around my schooling when I was younger, because it's like in 18 years, like how did no one
pick this up?
Yeah.
Like,
so it's a really weird feeling.
Yeah, that is super odd, because uni as well, because you went to uni in COVID.
Yes, I started September 2020.
Yeah, which is obviously bizarre in its own space, because obviously loads of people have been at uni before, loads of people played touch at uni before. That's cool, definitely keen to dive into that.
Yeah,
like,
so it was sorry, you go.
No, COVID at uni, like just COVID at uni, just
it was a really weird one, because obviously starting in 2020, I was actually meant to start in September 2021. I originally applied to defer a year and go travelling, and then obviously when the world shut down, I was able to bring my year forward. I went to Uni of Surrey and they were really good with it. They were like, yeah, fine, brought it forward. And I went to uni, and it was the weirdest thing, because obviously no one had done like freshers in COVID, and everyone before that is like, oh, freshers is like the best thing ever.
Yeah.
And like a lot of people I've spoken to now is like, oh, freshers is overrated anyway. Fine. And like, I think that's what we told ourselves to make ourselves feel better, the fact that we didn't get that.
Yeah. No one wants this anymore.
Yeah. So yeah, like it's really, really strange, and things like that. But I think like you also get like some good stories out of it and things, and I think like I'm grateful that I was able to go in that time and not have to like waste a year basically. But yeah, it was very strange, like quiet almost, like quiet. Eerie, like
very. I was going to say how much running away from campus security was going on, because surely
I don't think I could say that.
Yeah. That is not fair. That's genius. And yeah, let's bring. So part of the reason why I'm keen to do this as like a show is to get cool people who are all connected by playing the same sport, who also all have lives outside of sport. So spoken a little bit about like your education and your journey through that space. Talk to me a little bit more around like your touch career. So obviously you played in the juniors, which is quality, and then like progressing into go play for Malaysia. Just explain to me how that one sort of unfolded.
Yeah, so I originally joined the England Opens training squads when I was about 15, I think.
Fair.
And was in the training squads and stuff, and it was in 2018 Euros. I was told I didn't make the squad for the Women's Open team for the Europeans. Didn't make the Mixed Open, wasn't a reserve basically. Was told to go and focus on my GCSEs, which as someone who really struggled in school was tough. A big kick in the teeth. And it was kind of almost like you wanted to turn around and be like, well, like
that's my decision.
Yeah, entirely. So yeah, I'm not bitter about it anymore. It's fine. It's fine. Yeah, I'm so over it.
Yeah.
But almost like looking back now, it's probably the best thing that could have happened, not getting into the 2018 Women's Open squad, because it meant the next year they selected for the World Cup in January. And they did it at, I'm sure you remember, when we were in like Cranford in East London.
London, yeah.
Yeah, West London, sorry. And we were all sat in the canteen, they picked you out one by one. A coach would come and collect you and basically tell you what was the situation.
Yeah or nay, I do remember that.
Yeah, and I remember JC, Justin Conway, came and got me. And I remember I was like this 16-year-old, like, never really played mixed before, like play at NTS, whatever. And I remember he came and got me, and I was like, oh, like I'm not going to World Cup, like it's fine.
Yeah, I'm about to be told.
Yeah,
I'm not getting on the plane.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then he was like, I sat down in the room with him. It was him and Ben Geldar, who was the assistant coach that year.
Yeah, shout out Benny.
Yeah. And and they were like, oh, like you're gonna play mixed open at the World Cup, and I was like, are you sure? Like,
yeah, let's go.
Obviously super excited and so grateful for the opportunity and things like that. And then I remember they were like, oh, like, do you have any questions? Do you think we can hear it?
Probably, but we'll see how it goes.
They were like, oh, like, do you have any questions? And I was like, no, like, I was just obviously super excited and probably wanted to get out of the room before they changed their mind, sort of thing.
Yeah, you said yes, I'm running away.
Basically, yeah. I'm going to a World Cup.
Yeah.
But no, and then, yeah, so super excited for that. And I think it kind of makes you realise that everything does happen for a reason. Like, if I had got into the squad the year before in the Women's Open, like, it could have been entirely different. And, like, Malaysia was such a learning curve for me. And it kind of taught me a lot. And I think, like, one of the main things it taught me was I'm not good with heat.
Didn't know that.
And I think, I mean, like, ending up on 3 drips isn't the best track record.
Only 3?
But only 3.
Mate,
Didn't make double figures.
All the subs went to cover your drips when you were in Malaysia. You're still paying it off.
Sorry. I'm still paying it off.
Yeah.
But no, like, and that was such an exciting time. And I think, like, during my A-levels, I had a part-time job and I was trying to work so hard in that to be able to, like, afford to, like, go and things like that. And it was like a really exciting time. And yeah, there was definitely a nice way to break into the Opens.
100%. I was chatting to Tom Penniston earlier as well, and we were just reminiscing about how it was his debut at Nottingham, and it was like in his own back garden. And I feel like for you, debuting in Malaysia is not in your back garden. Like, how was that? Like, you're still at school, you're playing touch. Like, you said that touch was like massively helping your schooling, and all of a sudden you step off the plane and you're like, pow, this is hot. Like, I am not at home. Like, how was that first tournament?
Yeah, so obviously definitely not my back garden. And because I was still in school, I had to obviously ask for permission to get time off.
Yeah.
And I remember, like, my school was good for me, and obviously it's got me to where I am, but they weren't a school that was filled with opportunities. Like, it was a small town. It was a small town school, like...
Just a small town girl. So bad.
Crop.
Yeah, that's
chop.
Absolutely not. Trying to think, like, be funny. Don't be funny. Don't even try.
So yeah, I was just a small town girl. But no, grew up in a small town, like, and the school basically turned around and was like, if you go on this trip, like, you're going to fail your A-levels. Which was... obviously quite hard to hear, like, considering I already struggled, like, in school and things like that. I obviously, as I was still in school, had to get permission to be taken out of school to go on this trip, and I was told basically, if you go on this trip, like, you're going to fail your A-levels. Yeah, so I didn't really get much support from that side of things. Obviously my family were amazing, so supportive as well, and my mum basically turned around and was like, well, we're not listening to you. Like, which was, like, great. And so yeah, like, it was a very different, like, it was a very big change because it was used to going to tournaments in Nottingham, in Manchester, like, that sort of thing. Whereas, like, actually, like, no, we're going to Kuala Lumpur. Like, I'd never been, the furthest I'd been was probably, like, Turkey and that sort of thing. It was like, I'd never experienced that kind of humidity. It's a completely different, like, climate, obviously, and it's just so crazy. And I'm sure you remember it as well.
Ditto. I just remember being like, I've played in the heat before, like, we played in Australia before, like, all of that, just different game. Like, so tricky to stay cool. Yeah.
So, and, like, just being able to, like, fuel yourself, like, hydrate yourself, it was just
just like, no, tough.
Yeah.
Well, tougher for some.
Apparently so.
Yeah. You alright, Clark?
Hey, I didn't get the thermometer.
Mate, it's essential. Health as well. Just then, I guess, debuted in Kuala Lumpur, unreal, very different experience. You then move through and then go to uni. I play the World Cup. I'm at uni. I want to ask about uni touch in a moment because I think it's, like, so much fun. But then you come and you join the Women's Open post-COVID. Yeah. How was that transition from mixed into women's?
I think I'd always been very much a women's player. And I think, which is why I'm also so grateful for, like, going to a World Cup with mixed open, because it always shows you the other side of things, and I think it's important to be able to have both because you understand both.
Yeah, definitely.
And especially with the way the touch system works over here, like, inevitably you will always play both.
Yeah. And mix is awesome. Like,
yeah,
it's
like
so
it was
much
just fun. Like it was
Yeah.
just a fun time, and
Quality.
it's like I'm not saying obviously women's isn't, but so went and played autumns in 2021 for the Women's Open.
Nice. Manchester.
Yes.
Yeah.
When we pulled up in Benny Powell, was still cutting the grass.
Classic. Yeah. How far we've come.
Yeah. God. So yeah, like that was, I think, as a whole, a really good day. Personally, a very tough day. I basically just got some shit news about finding out someone very close to me was very sick. Literally 5 minutes after I came off the pitch for my Women's Open debut, and I remember probably the most important thing to me, like getting through that, was I walked back to like our group, and I remember Emma Ines was stood there and basically was just like waiting, like with like open arms, like that sort of thing. And
Legend.
it just shows the importance of like your teammates and like Bronte, Zan, like those people, like the support that you get when things turn bad.
Oh, completely agree.
It's just so important, and it's just like so like that is like the main reason why I play touch. Like it's the people.
I was chatting to Stephen and Peggy about this. Stephen Troy and Peggy Mulligan, for those who don't know them. And we were like, why would you not? Someone else is organising a get together with my best mates most weekends. You're like, I can do this until I can't. And then you're like, this is unbelievable.
And like, I know we complain about the money and things like that, but like,
it's amateur sport though. It's like everyone who plays an amateur sport has.
Also, if you're playing an NTS, spending £100 on fuel costs, everything like that. If you go for a night out in London, it's the same thing.
So true. You might as well have great day out in the sun,
exactly,
doing a sport with your best mates.
So
it is a great vibe.
I mean, you then go out on the night, so you do spend double.
Yeah,
but
well, it's gonna say
in principle, it makes more sense.
Yeah, logically, genius, absolutely fine.
I thought I was on something there.
Yeah. Oh, class. And then, so like you've debuted for the Women's Open, you won the European Championships twice. Things are going well. You come into World Cup in your own back garden. You're back in Nottingham, where you started up your touch club as a junior. How was that as a week?
It was. I think it was an insane week, and like seeing 4 years of work come together is something that you can't really explain. Like it's just such a surreal feeling, and I think I just remember so many emotions when that like final whistle went.
Just like
knackered.
Yeah.
I think that was probably the main one.
Yeah, shattered. Big old week.
Yeah, and I think so. On day 2, I picked up a bad shoulder injury, which was really frustrating because it really limited me. I couldn't play at all on like day 3, and obviously very, very frustrating. But at the same time, like you're there to get a job done, and if that job done means like sacrificing a couple games to be able to guarantee that I'm not gonna like fall out and like halfway through the game and go down to 13 players, then that's what it's got to be. Like you go there to get the job done as a 16, and obviously staff and coaches, things like that.
For sure, and enjoy it. I feel like like I feel like I have reflections of World Cup, and obviously we had slightly different ends to our campaigns. Yours was quality, but I'm like,
I didn't
such
want to
a
bring it
fun.
up.
Yeah, don't bring it up way too soon. But you're like, it's just so much fun. And I feel like I get on reflection. You look at like your team, you look at the mixed team, and you look at the men's team. You're like, it's just quality people, and you're like, we've just spent a week away with awesome people, having so much fun. Yeah. And just again, like watching like yourself and the mix get bronze, and you're like, that's unbelievable, like it's so good. Obviously, the Scotland mixed team got bronze in 2019, first European team to do that, like incredible. Yeah. And now, obviously, as a country, England have gone and done 2 bronze medals. You're like, quality, like this is like, I feel like it's just moving in a good direction in Europe generally. But I feel the fact that you're still running at the end, having picked up a shoulder nick, was pretty impressive.
I think, and it's weird you said about Scotland, when in 2019 World Cup, because we were in the same pool as Scotland.
Oh yeah, you had a group get. Yeah, it was only by 1, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was either 9-8 or 8-8.
Yeah.
And I remember it must have been 9-8 to Scotland. But to this day, that would still probably be one of my favourite like games ever, because it was just like we went into that game we were such a young team. We were so young.
Who'd you have? You had like Lupton.
Yeah, Irons, Lupton on his debut.
Listen.
Yeah, Lizzie Dory.
Oh yeah, what a crew.
Like Matty Maynard.
Yeah.
Such a young team, and I think we went into that like game like obviously hyped up for it. Like you always go into a game hyped up. But yeah, like that game was probably one of my favourites ever, and it's just like, yeah, I think like you and Armstrong, like,
oh, he's so funny.
It's just such a funny guy, and yeah, though that game was definitely a highlight for me, and still is.
Nice. What was your favourite game of this World Cup?
Ooh. I'd probably say. That's actually quite difficult.
Yeah, tricky question.
I've not watched any of the World Cup back.
From feeling at the time when you're like, oh, I just.
Yeah, I mean, I would have like maybe, like obviously Australia, like even though you're getting absolutely thumped, like it is still quite fun. And I think.
What was the score in your game against us?
I want to say 12-2.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And literally the only 2 points I remember from that game is Danny Davies put in like absolute shots on me. Like I was doing awful roll balls, and I remember she just got me like stood up. Like I think it was literally like twice in a row, and I was like, it's just not going well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like fine, just have the ball. Yeah. Like, and yeah, like obviously that's it. That is always a highlight. But also the first game, opening game against USA. I think.
Oh, pitch one.
Yes.
Yeah, quality.
Because like. You go into it and you're like, oh, like how's this gonna go? Like because no one really knows.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's weird because in Europe you're like we play all the European teams all the time, so you know people play NCS, like you play socially.
Yeah. And
you turn up and we had the same thing. Like you're going against like Cook Islands, USA, Lebanon, and you're like,
you don't know what to expect.
What is like? Where are we?
Yeah.
Like
USA have some like athletes as well, and we knew that, and so it was kind of just like. It was a more like technical game, I think, but yeah, like they've got some athletes, and so like it was quite like nerve-wracking, and then suddenly everything. I don't think it clicked in that game.
It's game one though. It's,
yeah. Of what bloody 6-day tournament.
Yeah, tough old week. I feel like actually asking about your uni touch career. So you turn up, and you've played for England before. And I remember you saying it was a little bit of a different environment at the uni sort of touch scene, so not many other touch players at the time. How did that evolve over 2-3 years? Standard numbers, that kind of vibe.
So when I first turned up, I didn't really say anything. Like I didn't really say like, oh, like I play for England and stuff like that, because like that's just not how I like to go about it.
I don't think many people should go about it that way. Hello. By the way,
you know?
Did you know? This is what I've done.
And all I'd done at that point is mixed open, which obviously for uni touch is a lot more relevant. We didn't have that kind of women's men's mixed. It was always, and even now it's still growing, it was always just mixed. So I remember I turned up, and uni touches, I saw it as it was kind of like, right, okay, so I've got Scorps, I've got Sharks, and I've got England camps. I'm going to see this as like a fun thing, like a social aspect and a fun way to do it.
100%.
Which is
good vibes.
Yeah, which is what you need. And so yeah, like that's kind of what I saw it as. And during my first year, I don't think there was any tournaments. I believe
2020.
Yeah,
no,
there wouldn't have been.
Yeah.
So no, there was no tournaments during my first year. So it was very just like. Messing around, like all the socials and training, things like that.
Arguably the best.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I mean during COVID.
Yeah. Sorry, very strict. No. Yeah. Absolutely.
So yeah, like that was joining uni, and joining that for me was very much like trying to go about it a social aspect kind of way. And then when I went into my second year, it got more competitive just because the competitions came back, and then it was a fun thing. And like Surrey uni where I went was never like big at touch. They were only just became a club during my second year, or maybe my first year, and we only became like independent during like my early years, and so we hadn't been around for long at all. And I know people like Dan Askew and Zan played a big part in starting the club a few years ago.
Oh, throwing it back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A few years.
Yeah, just a few. Like, easy. I remember playing
a couple.
Them. Yeah, just one or two.
Yeah. But I think I might have played against you when I was like 16 at UTC.
Really?
I played for Nottingham once.
Did you actually?
Chris Simon was like, well, I probably shouldn't say that, I'll probably get him in trouble.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I remember we played Bath.
Go on, up bloody Hawks.
Yeah. I mean, it was probably like 2017, so I don't know where you were there.
Yeah.
2019? No, 2019.
19, no. 17 final year.
Yeah. No, I might have just missed you.
Maybe.
I think I played Bronte.
Okay. Yeah, that seems likely because her first year would have been 2017.
Oh.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, sidetrack. And so and then second year was a lot more fun. Just because we had obviously more freedom, and I think we went to more competitions and things like that. And then third year I went onto the committee basically, which was, so my third year was my placement year.
Nice.
And I believe, was that the year you came in?
I think so, yeah, because then that was towards the end of it, I think. And then I joined properly and was like an official coach in your final year.
Yeah. And then, in my third year, I took over the club in about January time. And we ended up winning. I don't know how. I still don't know how. Was it in my third year or was it in my final year?
Final year, we won one of the national rounds.
Oh, okay. I'm a year behind. Sorry, I might have to chop this.
That's all good.
So third year, I took over the club in January during my third year.
Yeah.
Which, a job as a whole, it's quite a big thing, and stuff. But again, you just look at it from a social aspect, and I think growing a club like that and trying to encourage more and more people into the sport was a new challenge.
Yeah.
And so that was a lot of fun. And then during final year, sorry, I feel like this is a really boring.
That's all right.
And then during my final year, we'd always been bottom of the pack, as a club, never really done much, and we ended up somehow winning a national round.
Yeah.
Still don't know how we did it.
5.
Yeah. That was very, very... No, it was in my third year. We won a national round.
In your third year?
Yeah.
Who was the final against? Was it Loughborough?
It was Loughborough, yeah.
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 Was that your third year?
Yeah, that was my third year.
Oh, fine.
Because
I remember that.
Yeah, and then final year... Yes, it was. Sorry, okay, so... Yes, and then third year, took over in January, and then we won a national round in the March.
Yeah, that was it.
And
it was the first one of the national rounds. Yeah, that was it.
And so then that was obviously a lot of fun. And I think also when you see things like that happen, you're actually we are making progress as a club, as a sport.
Oh, massively.
And just in general.
It's so rewarding because I found when I was doing touch at uni, I was I'm very aware this isn't the top end standard yet. But you're I feel like loads of people pick it up for the first time and just love it, and you're it's so exciting watching people join, play, learn, and it's you're coaching this oh my god, we're actually we're winning, and we're playing, and even though it's not about winning, it's we're playing well and we're learning.
It's still
and
nice too,
and we're having a vibe, and I feel it's such a nice thing to do.
Yeah. Sorry, you go.
No, because I was going to ask you. You obviously played touch at uni. But then you picked up rugby at uni, which is, again, interesting because picking up rugby later. But then you probably won't say this yourself, but you ended up being top point scorer in the league and being asked to join Quins, having started rugby at uni, having played touch.
I think because I already had so much foundational skills in the sense of I played football when I was younger. I've always been able to kick a ball. Whenever we go to touch training, I still get a rugby ball and we'll still get a touch ball, and I still do keep you up with it. That's always kind of been
ingrained.
Yeah. I always love that aspect of it as well. So kicking was a big part of my game. And I think in the women's game especially, that does separate you. So for me, that was really big. But then also, as you've got such good functional skills catch pass, just the agility you gain from touch, the speed you gain from, not that I'm very fast, but the kind of the movement patterns and things like that you gain from touch, the communication, being able to read a player on a touch pitch. If there's 6v6 and you can't read your player, you can't create anything because you're never going to get that overlap. And I think when you take that into rugby, as soon as you create that overlap, just because a little tap or a little touch doesn't stop the game, you're always going to be able to capitalise. Yeah,
you're so used to getting into beating people that, all of a sudden a hand is oh, crack on. Yeah,
definitely. The contact element I'd always been quite interested in anyway. But for example, there was times when we were like in defence, I dropped back 7.
Classic.
And someone was like, why are you not in the line? I was like, it's just habits.
Yeah. It's
So
like, oh yeah.
yeah, the transition is weird.
easy. Yeah.
And you're like, oh my god, like that's the thing as well. And like I used to get so cold playing 15s just because you're not used to like not moving as
Standing
much.
still.
Yeah,
I know.
and like don't get me wrong, like the standard of the women's game has probably grown so much even in the past like 2-3 years. So it will be a better game. But yeah, like kicking and just like your general skills definitely I think gave me a foot in the door basically.
Yeah, for sure. That's quality. It's so nice to see that there's actually a genuine transfer, because I feel like loads of people talk about it and you're like, I'm sure there's people who have got the same kind of similar story, that if I can read space so well and my catch pass is mega and my running lines are good, my evasion's good, you're like, this transfers well.
Yeah, definitely.
Nice. And then last thing that I want to ask you about before we do the last 2 segments is you are an entrepreneur, if people don't know about that. You've started your own business called Recharge and Rebuild.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Basically, I did sports science at uni.
Yeah, great course. One of the best courses out there, I've heard.
But I now basically work in operations and marketing. So very different to what I did. And to still have that element back towards my degree and everything that I've learned, I started this almost like side hustle of Recharge Rebuild. Basically Recharge being like a recovery element, so sports massage, things like that, and Rebuild being like a personal training, strength conditioning element. And I think for me the recovery side of things was so important because I've learned so much of it over the past few years working in hospitality throughout my degree, as well as trying to be an elite athlete. They don't go hand in hand.
No.
I've turned up to training before on like 3 hours sleep and just having done 40,000 steps, and it's like, ooh, you're just cooked.
I'm not fresh.
No.
Going into a training camp where you're going to cover like 20k at speed. Yeah. No good.
That for me is a big element of it, and I think offering that to amateur athletes who don't have that opportunity to gain that kind of support and stuff, and helping them recover during the week after, for example, a big rugby game on a Monday, maybe the one thing you want is a sports massage, that sort of thing, and stuff like that. Or then offering help to people who aren't aware of good habits, healthy like living and things, to be able to better themselves as a person and their health.
Nice. That's quality. So that's giving people access to all of those bits which help you out as an athlete, even if you don't have access to it through your sports club, whether it be whatever sport. Literally insert list here.
Exactly.
Nice.
Definitely.
So if people are listening, where are you based and how can they find out about you?
So I'm in Southwest London.
Nice.
And I have an Instagram, which is Recharge Rebuild.
We will find a way to put this in a link of whenever we put this on. 2 segments. All right. 2 segments to go. The first one, don't think, just answer, quick fire. We've got to know you, but we want to know a little bit more about you. So, first question, if I can find it on here. First question, what's your favourite sport outside of touch?
Rugby sevens.
What is your pump-up tune before a match?
The Spins by Mac Miller.
Excellent. Don't know it, but I'm sure it's good. What's your favourite way to unwind after a competition?
Probably a less tame kind of like court vibe, like just sitting in a circle. Like
a less tame court vibe.
Yeah. No.
A rowdy court vibe.
No, a more tame.
Oh, okay.
Definitely. How did no one know I was dyslexic?
Okay.
You can chop that.
Absolutely not.
Having like a more tame like kind of court, like sitting around with your mates, like debrief, that sort of thing.
Nice.
I remember like after like NTSs in the summer, just like sitting
hanging out
in the middle of Burton, in the middle of nowhere, and like in the sun, like with a beer, like that sort of vibe.
What a vibe. Love it. What is your death row meal? 3 courses.
Starter, I would have to say probably like something like bruschetta, simple, and then I just had it the other day, half bruschetta and then half of it is like whipped feta with like walnuts and honey. I don't know what it's called, but it's so good.
Unreal.
Yeah.
Mate,
so
you're living
good.
a bougie life. Recharge Rebuild going very well. That's your dinner.
Yeah. And then main probably like this is gonna make me sound so bougie.
So bougie.
Probably like a mushroom and truffle risotto. I think I've had it like once.
Unreal.
And yeah, I've craved it ever since.
Hello.
And then dessert, probably just like mint chocolate ice cream. I've gone hard.
You've gone very hard very early.
Yeah.
You pulled back right down 2 people again.
I peaked too soon.
Yeah.
Probably like my touch career. But.
Like all of our touch careers. What's top of your bucket list at the moment?
Probably go to, convert a van and travel around Europe.
Oh, so good. Great shout. And then the last question of quick fire. What is the best live event you've ever seen?
Ever seen or been to?
Been to. Same. I can't speak English. Yeah.
Got you on a technicality. I think I'd probably have to be a bit biased and say... well, first of all, I would say, like, I've been to the Olympics, like, watched the Olympics, like, when I was in London. Like, that's pretty cool, I think, to be able to say, like, cool thing to do.
Yeah, pinnacle.
Yeah. And then probably be quite biased and say, because of who ran it, World Cup after party. Just because I think when... Also, you'd be able to say, it was a very good...
Yeah, it was.
I don't want to base my whole, like, life experience around a night out.
Yeah. But it was good fun.
Yeah, it was. And I think when you've got all your mates in one place having a great time and like it's almost like you've put in so much work and then you can finally kind of like let your hair down sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like that is
sign it off.
Yeah.
Nice.
So yeah, more because of the principle of it. But yeah.
I like it. No, big fan. Which brings us on to our final segment. Buzzing for this one. So this is your starting 6, but this isn't your starting 6 for who you'd have on a touch pitch. I want to know who is your starting 6 if you're going to start a business. So, rules of this game, you have to have played with them at some point.
Okay.
But I want to know, recharge and rebuild, you've got some budget, you're going to employ 6 people, you're going to go into business with 6 people. Who are they?
Okay. I'd probably have to start with someone like JC.
Justin Conway.
Yeah, I have played with him before.
Yeah.
Scorps tour to Dublin.
Oh, nice, excellent. Yeah.
And yeah, I think I played middle with him and covered his ass the whole time.
I can't wait for JC to listen to this and be like, wrong.
Yeah. And then I'd probably pick JC mainly because I know he's big dog lawyer.
Yeah, okay. So you're going to get in trouble.
Yeah, basically. I need him to cover me.
Like on the pitch.
Yeah.
Nice.
I'll cover him on the pitch, he can cover me off the pitch.
I can't wait to see that discussion. Yeah.
But yeah, I'd probably have to go JC just because obviously business, like, I know he's pretty switched on like that. And he also obviously takes us like to Gif every year with otters and stuff like that. So he is obviously just like a good person. And then probably like Carly Wynn.
Nice.
Mainly thinking pragmatically. She's an accountant.
Oh, lawyer, accountant.
Yeah, I'm thinking legit,
mate,
like...
You're hitting good departments.
Yeah. So then I'd probably go Bronte Sykes. Mainly because I know how much work she put in for the Women's Open campaign, sorting sponsorship, sorting social media. I don't think many people realise how much work it actually is. Even within the team, I think it was kind of... I don't think people kind of clocked like how many hours she was putting in and how much dedication it actually took to do that week in, week out. So yeah, I'd probably pick someone like Bronte just because I know...
She's in the engine room.
Yeah, working hard and also very good at it.
Yeah,
so she can do the socials.
Okay, yeah, classic.
And then probably Lauren Fagan.
Yeah, Lolly.
Yeah, Lolly. Basically, when we were playing our quarterfinal against the Cook Islands, me and Lolly were playing in the middle together.
Yeah.
Literally, I must have been like the last 2 minutes. Open play, was in line defence, and literally just got round. Like, no reason.
Classic.
Like,
happens to the best of us.
Yeah. I still, to this day, like, don't know how it happened. Just gave her too much space. This girl just kicked and ran around me. And I remember I dove for her, and I stayed on the floor for quite a while. And I remember Lolly ran past me and just kind of like picked me up and just dragged me off the pitch.
Oh.
And she was like, come on, like, next job, fine, like, whatever. And I think having people like that in your corner is like so important. Like someone who's going to pick you up and kind of make you carry on going.
Nice. It's very well considered, this. It's great.
It's almost like I've done it before.
Yeah, almost.
And then probably Emma Irons.
Oh, good pick.
Yeah, she'd definitely be the line manager, I think.
Yeah.
Keeping
You put her
everyone
in charge.
check.
She's CEO. Yeah. 100%. Nice.
So yeah, definitely eyes. Also because I think obviously we joke she is that kind of like CEO sort of thing, but also what she's done for me personally, like when I made my debut, kind of got brought back down to earth by like obviously some like quite bad personal news, and like going back to someone and then being there for you, like no matter the situation, I think is also the reason why like you need people like that in your corner, like kind of always like just being there and things like that. So yeah, like definitely someone like Irons.
You got one more space in your team.
I'm gonna have to be quite boring. Probably say Charlie Steed.
Yeah, classic. Sixth pick.
Yeah.
Hey, if I was shot, I'll be like, I'm number one.
Chop it so he's first.
Yeah.
No, yeah, and mainly just because obviously he's been such a big support for me over the past few years, past 3 or 4 years, and I think he's obviously also got his own businesses, and quite good to have someone who knows what they're doing.
Yeah, experienced.
Yeah. So yeah, probably Charlie in my corner as well.
What a six! What a business! Right. Well, thank you so much for coming on and chatting, entertaining what could be fantastic. It is more likely going to be a complete flop, but there we are. If you're still listening, well done. You are probably the only one. If you have made it this far, let us know how terrible you think it is. Actually, we'll just start that again.
More positive.
More positive. No, I like it. Brilliant. So, thank you so much for joining us. Yeah, thank you for speaking so openly. I thoroughly enjoy this, even if no one else does. And I'm sure for the one person that's left listening, please tell me how terrible you think this is. But yeah, otherwise, for whatever is next with Recharge and Rebuild, with whatever is next for whatever tournament that we're playing in, best of luck. Thank you for coming. If you'd like us to get anyone else on to come and have a conversation with a cup of tea and a dog that's going to chew something in the background, please let us know. But otherwise, stay safe and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Oh, the intros and the outros.
Okay.